In the cold silence of space, where stars burn like distant lanterns, humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. At the Nexus Hub, a sprawling galactic station teeming with alien life, humans were still newcomers, known for their resourcefulness but often dismissed as overly sentimental. Humanity was about to prove that compassion could be a strength, not a weakness. One day, an unexpected arrival shook the station to its core. The Dracarians, towering reptilian apex predators, feared across the galaxy, stepped into the chamber. Their shimmering green and bronze scales glinted under the artificial light, and their piercing yellow eyes scanned the room with predatory precision. These creatures rarely sought help, let alone admitted vulnerability. But today, they'd come begging. "Our cubs are dying," growled Arakal, the leader of the delegation. His voice rumbled through the walls, silencing even the most outspoken diplomats. "We have tried everything. Nothing works." All eyes turned to Emily Carter, a xenobiologist who never imagined she'd find herself at the center of an interstellar crisis. Clutching her data tablet tightly, she stepped forward despite the tremor in her legs. "I'm Dr. Emily Carter," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "If you'll allow me, I'd like to examine the cubs and see what we can do." Arakal narrowed his eyes, studying her like prey. "You believe your knowledge can save them? I believe we can try," she replied firmly. "Humanity has developed unique ways to care for the young and vulnerable. If we combine our methods with your understanding of their biology, just maybe, we can give them a fighting chance." The Dracarians hesitated, but finally agreed. They brought forth 3 fragile cubs, their once vibrant scales now dull and cracked. The sight tugged at Emily's heartstrings, but she knew there was no time for pity. She and her team sprang into action, setting up an isolation ward within the human sector of the Nexus. Every movement was scrutinized by the ever-watchful Dracarians, especially Arakal, whose presence loomed over the entire operation. Using advanced scanning technology, Emily identified the culprit, a parasitic microorganism devastating the cubs' respiratory and digestive systems. It thrived in the humid swamps of the Dracarian homeworld, but had mutated into something far deadlier. "We need to stabilize them first," Emily explained to her team. "Hydration, nutrition, oxygen levels, they're all critical." As the humans worked tirelessly, the Dracarians remained silent observers. Days passed, and slowly the cubs began to improve. Their breathing steadied, and their scales regained some of their natural sheen. For the humans, it felt like progress. For the Dracarians, it was still too soon to celebrate. But tension erupted when one of the cubs, Lyra, went into respiratory distress. Alarms blared as Emily rushed to stabilize her. Before she could act, Arakal stormed into the room, his towering form radiating fury. "What is happening to the cub?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "She's having a reaction," Emily answered, without looking away from the monitors. "I need to stabilize her." "You will not interfere further," Arakal barked. "If she is too weak to survive, it is not your place to prolong her suffering." Emily froze, his words cutting deep. To the Dracarians, survival of the fittest was law. To her, giving up was unthinkable. "She's not weak," Emily said, turning to face him. "She's fighting, and if we act now, we can save her." Her defiance stilled the room. After a tense moment, Arakal stepped back. "You have one chance, human. If she perishes, it will be on your hands." With renewed determination, Emily and her team stabilized Lyra. As the cub's condition improved, a flicker of respect flashed across Arakal's face, but only briefly. He masked it quickly, though the shift was undeniable. The incident sparked heated debates among the Dracarians. Some, led by Elder Jackal, argued that the cubs should be returned to their natural environment immediately. Prolonged human intervention, they claimed, weakened their instincts. All we're doing is helping them recover, Emily countered. Isn't that what matters most? Jackal sneered. And what truth is that? That we've grown dependent on these fragile creatures? Arakal turned to him, his gaze fierce. The truth that survival is not a solitary endeavor. The truth that strength can take many forms, including the strength to accept help when it is needed. The words hung heavy in the air, shifting the tide of opinion. In the end, the decision was made. The cubs would stay under human care until fully recovered. Weeks later, as the cubs prepared to return home, Emily watched with mixed emotions. Lyra chirped softly as if reluctant to leave. Emily smiled, whispering, "You'll do great out there." Before departing, Arakal approached her one last time. From a satchel, he pulled out a small, intricately carved pendant, a Dracarian sigil of trust. "This is given only to those who have proven themselves worthy," he said, handing it to her. Emily took it, her fingers brushing against the cool stone. "I don't know what to say." "You have already said enough," Arakal replied. "You have done more than we could have expected." As the Dracarians departed, Emily reflected on what they'd achieved. Humanity didn't just save 3 lives, they forged a bridge between 2 vastly different species. In a galaxy ruled by power and instinct, they proved that empathy and compassion could transcend even the deepest divides. Months later, Dr. Galara, eager to embrace human educational methods, proposed a field trip to a state-of-the-art mining academy. Despite Ambassador Crick's and Officer Winter's warnings about Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it will. The excursion went ahead. At first, it all seemed fine. That is, until 2 curious children, Tommy and Alex, disappeared into the maintenance shafts of a massive high-powered mining machine. When the adults finally tracked them down, they learned the unthinkable. These grade schoolers hadn't just broken into the system. They'd optimized its quantum algorithms and reworked its neural net architecture, boosting efficiency by 40%. "How did they?" the instructor stammered, staring at his diagnostic pad in disbelief. "We documented all the changes," Tommy announced proudly, "and filed provisional patents while we were at it." As the group headed to lunch, Crix muttered dryly, "Human children plus advanced technology equals either chaos or revolutionary breakthroughs. Plan accordingly." Then came the cultural exchange catastrophe, or miracle, depending on how you looked at it. When human children introduced hide-and-seek to hive-minded drones, logical youth nodes, and gelatinous collectives, pandemonium ensued. Drones giggled, nodes told jokes, gelatinous blobs formed themselves into a band called the Wobbling Wonders, performing space jazz fusion that left audiences swaying uncontrollably. Even the Vax Click Queen, horrified at first, couldn't deny the results. Her drones were happier, more efficient, and questioning old patterns. "Why do we process packets alphabetically?" one asked. The answer? No good reason. As Buzz 7, a newly independent drone, put it, "Humans showed us we can think for ourselves while staying connected. It makes us better." Finally, there was the Great Science Fair incident. Teams of human and alien children collaborated on projects ranging from quantum humor analysis to physics-defying light shows. One team led by Tommy and Alex alongside crystalline entity kids, grew quantum-entangled crystals that refracted light into impossible patterns. Another group accidentally created a hybrid computational comedy network, generating jokes synchronized with music and visuals. Species who'd never communicated effectively suddenly shared laughter, understanding, and connection through this bizarre symphony of science and creativity. As Ambassador Crix noted in the official records, when humanity said their children were their greatest contribution to galactic civilization, we thought it was metaphorical. Turns out, it was literal, and probably for the best. In the end, humanity didn't just adapt to the galaxy, it transformed it. Because wherever human kids go, curiosity, creativity, and change follow. And sometimes that's exactly what the universe needs. The lessons learned weren't confined to the Nexus Hub. Word spread across the galaxy, reaching even the highest echelons of Galactic Defense Command. There, Admiral James Anderson stood aboard the HMS Paradox, a warship designed to break every rule of traditional combat. Its asymmetrical design, chaotic power distribution, and unpredictable tactics baffled enemies and allies alike. The universe doesn't play by our rules, Anderson explained during a briefing, so why should we? When the Swarm, a biomechanical force that adapted to any standard military strategy, threatened the outer colonies, the Council reluctantly called upon the Paradox. What followed was less a battle and more a dance, as the ship's irregular movements and adaptive systems confounded the Swarm's collective intelligence. Where other fleets had failed, the Paradox succeeded, not by imposing order, but by embracing chaos. Afterward, Commander Vex, tasked with analyzing the ship's success, delivered his report to the Council. The Paradox isn't flawed, he concluded. It operates on principles we never considered valid, the principles of controlled chaos. Inspired, the Council established the Irregular Warfare Development Group, inviting Anderson to lead it. Together, humans and aliens began designing ships that defied conventional logic, proving that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to break every rule in the book. Back at the Nexus Hub, Emily Carter received news of the developments with quiet pride. Humanity's influence wasn't limited to diplomacy or warfare. It extended to education, culture, and innovation. Whether saving endangered cubs, revolutionizing mining technology, or teaching drones to laugh, human children had become catalysts for change. As the galaxy continued to evolve, one truth became clear. Humanity's greatest strengths lay not in its weapons or wealth, but in its ability to inspire others. Through compassion, creativity, and courage, humans reminded the cosmos that even in the vastness of space, the smallest actions could spark the biggest transformations. And so humanity's reputation grew, not as warriors or conquerors, but as guardians, trusted even by the fiercest predators in the stars.